Putin's, Shoigu and the Ministry of Defense of Russia data got hacked once again, believe it or not, and looks like within the next 24 to 48 hours there is a quote-unquote imminent threat to Moscow. Besides that, looks like that Russia accidentally revealed its Moldova invasion plans, and then Russian infiltrators are already spotted in Poland. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. And let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. Guys, I'm hurting today. I got injured in hockey last night, so no ridiculous Russian propaganda, but I mean that's as much as I could do it, so forgive me, but doesn't matter. Let's continue. So, Battle Babushkas, or should I say Battle Babushkas / hackers, who probably know the very basics of computer, how to play solitaire and things like this. So long story short, once again they threatened the West, and especially America, that they're gonna hack their banking system, they're gonna paralyze the work of Visas, MasterCards, Discover cards, pretty much all the major card systems. So those Americans will not be able to pay for their luxury lifestyles, and they're gonna experience what real life is all about. And besides threatening to hack these systems, which to be honest is the very low probability of this actually happening, they also said that they will be sending to the people on the world in WhatsApp this like a good morning type of postcards, like, you know, the ones with like poor animation, like glittering, says have a good morning, have amazing day, like love you all so much. To be honest, I just realized now that I have no even idea. Maybe this is just Slavic babushkas from Russia, Ukraine, Slovakia, Slovenia, Serbia. So guys, just let me know down below in the comments if your babushkas send you the same postcards as well. And also, by the way, there is another thing which I just also realized. Battle Babushkas are a pretty frequent visitor on this channel, right? So, what do you think? Should we make merch specifically dedicated to Battle Babushkas? I mean, just imagine you buy a t-shirt for your own grandmother which says Battle Babushkas in Russian language. She will have absolutely no idea what it says, but you will have a good laugh. Guys, let me know in the comments if you would like merch like this. And speaking about the merch, the weekend is here, so we have a huge number of discounts. 15% for this iconic the yellow the Russian dude hoodie, 15% off for any single green item you will be able to find on the website, and then Patreons also get additional 10% for just being Patreons. So if you ever thought about subscribing to this service, seeing early access to all the uncensored episodes of the Russian Dude, you will get a discount which you can later apply and buy merch, and this discount will pretty much pay for itself. I think this is literally a win-win scenario, because especially there is a free trial for my Patreon, and the link to both my websites for the merch and Patreon is down below. But jokes aside, now let's talk about the real hack which happened recently. Then I'm gonna give you a quick update from the south and the east of Ukraine, and then we'll talk about Russian future plans against Moldova and Poland. And so, talking about the hack, the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine recently made a statement that once again, they were able to hack the data of the Ministry of Defense of Russia, which was used by more than 2,000 recipients, which most likely this also includes Shoigu and even potentially Putin himself. This data obviously included the pre-war, the during war, the potential future plans of the Russians, and since this is a Ministry of Defense of Russia, majority of this data is military related. But another very important thing that Ukrainians were able to extract during this most recent hack is that they were able to access decoding software, because Russians, even though they think that their data is safe, they still use some kind of an encryption, right? I mean, it makes sense. Well, now Ukrainians have access to this decryption software, so Russians will either have to change it, develop a new one, or they just keep going with it. I have no idea what they're gonna select, so let's see. But in one way or another, this will significantly complicate their exchange of data in the near future. I will also upload some more documents from this most recent leak to my Patreon, so please go ahead and check it if you are interested. And so I just also realized that the percentage of these hacks, most recent ones, against Shoigu and his ministry, the percentage of successful hacks, I would say, is pretty high. So I would also say that besides updating their encryption software. Russians might also think about installing better ad block or maybe like antivirus, because yeah, any single time Shoigu sees on the screen like there are some hot ladies in your area, please click here, or maybe you're like 10,000th visitor on the website, please click here to claim your prize. Well, it looks like this is exactly what happens, because literally we had at least 3 of such hacks in the last several months, which is unacceptable for the ministry of such high level. Well, this did happen. And speaking about percentages, 47.2% of you guys are still not subscribed to our channel. Guys, we are waiting for your participation in our The Russian Dude community to be the part of the Russian Dude army. And if you, Bruce, Bruno, Brian, Byron and Caleb, you think I'm not talking to you right now, well, as you can see, I do speak directly to you. It also includes you, so guys, please once again, let's go ahead and subscribe all together. Because if you remember, at 242,000 subscribers, I'm doing my legs reveal. I've been sitting on this couch for the last whole week. I just literally need to stand up already. So please help me. All you need to do is to simply subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thank you so much. And so yes, now as promised, let me give you a very quick update from the east and the south of Ukraine and so-called imminent threat to Moscow before we can switch our attention to Moldova and Poland. And first of all, I would like to mention that recently, this last night, Russians were still attacking the territory of Ukraine, but luckily Ukrainian air defense was able to intercept 33 out of 37 Russian Shahed drones, bringing the effectiveness of Ukrainian air defense system to almost 90%. Next we go to Ukrainian front lines, and as you can see from this video, recently Ukrainians intensified the use of their night vision drones, and if you remember from pretty much any single video in the past I was making, Ukrainians right now are heavily relying on such drones. This is the modern warfare. Soldiers are no longer just attacking each other wall on wall. It is not even tanks against tanks or anything like this, even though obviously battles like this, they do happen. But right now, a lot of success in the front lines, it depends on the drones. And obviously, besides drones, Ukrainians are now using night vision drones, because at night this is when you can spot these drones. It is much more complicated to spot such drones, and also when this is a lot of soldiers are simply sleeping, so you might take those sleeping soldiers by a very big surprise. Next we go to Belohirivka frontline, and reportedly Ukrainians only in the last 24 hours were able to repel at least 7 different assaults by Russians. Next we go to Avdiivka and this small settlement to the west called Первомайske, where as you can see from this video, Ukrainians once again used a drone, confirming what I previously said like 30 seconds ago, that modern warfare is heavily reliant on drones, and just one single drone was able to annihilate literally the infantry fighting vehicle of Russians, which pretty much caused a massive ball of fire. Also, another thing worth mentioning, guys, if you remember also from my several last episodes, Russians started to actively use Chinese golf carts to bring their infantry closer to the front lines. The idea behind this in the very beginning was that, well, okay, if we just bring 2 people, like 2 guys, 3 guys, maybe Ukrainians will consider this as insignificant target and they might not attack it. At the same time, golf carts are way more maneuverable than, let's say so, infantry fighting vehicles or armored personnel carriers. And this was kinda the case maybe at the very beginning. Well, then Russians started to equip these golf carts with way more people, 6, 7, 8, 10 of them, and at this point Ukrainians started seeing them as legitimate military targets. And so, as you can see right here is another drone picture from Avdiivka frontline. There is a number of abandoned golf carts by Russians, which looks like the inhabitants, the drivers and the personnel which were using them previously were destroyed by Ukrainians. And yet another very interesting video from the south came to us from Rabotine frontline, where we can see literally a first-person footage of one of Ukrainian soldiers, and they are repelling a tank assault of Russians against their positions. Guys, I do not think that many of us, luckily, experienced repelling tank assault. This is something which is truly horrifying, to be honest. I mean, just imagine a several tons machine is driving next to you with only one goal: to eliminate you, to take your life, and you have to stop it. So once again, luckily neither of us most likely ever experienced this, and hopefully we will never do it. But if you are curious how it looks like, once again, right here is the perfect video which shows the true true conditions along the front lines. Guys, this video, uncensored version, full version, will be uploaded to my Patreon. As always, if you want to see it for yourself, please do it. The link is going to be down below. And one last thing before we can talk about Russia's future plans against Moldova is that this very interesting picture, which shows the range of Ukrainian drones applied to the map both of Russia and Ukraine. And as you can see, majority of major Russian cities, such as for example Sochi in the south, obviously Moscow and even St. Petersburg, are now within some of the high range drones which were produced already by Ukrainians. Then you can also see these red dots which show the successful arrivals of Ukrainian drones against such cities. And so, long story short, maybe this is just a coincidence or not, but several ministries, several consulates, several embassies in Russia, such as for example the Embassy of the United States, the Embassy of the United Kingdom, and Embassy of Latvia and Germany, recently they released a statement on their either official websites or Twitter/X pages saying that within the next 24 to 48 hours, the citizens of those countries should avoid gathering in places where there's a lot of people, because there is some evidence and reconnaissance intelligence data that some potentially even terroristic attacks might happen in the near future. The Moscow itself also issued the so-called quote-unquote imminent threat warning. And just once again, is it only a coincidence that Ukrainians released this map with the drone range recently and now there is an imminent threat in the capital of Russia? Or maybe there is some other reasons. Potentially even that Putin might even do some provocation himself. Honestly, it might sound crazy for any other country in the world, but if you think about it, this is his signature move. Whenever he feels like that his support or interest to war is declining, there's always something happening on the territory of Russia itself. Then the Russian propagandists, they start talking about this event on their channels 24/7 for the next several weeks, just to heat up the interest to war from the population once again. Because obviously, if you know the basics of politics 101, the very best way to unite your people around strong quote-unquote leader is whenever you have an outside threat. And so, this is what potentially might happen with this imminent threat in Moscow in the near future. Potentially, the Russian authorities themselves might do some kind of provocation, obviously picturing themselves like in the Ukrainian clothes, saying that this was obviously attacked by Ukrainians, just as an attempt to resume the interest of war among Russian population. And also, another thing which might potentially confirm this is that the quote-unquote presidential elections in Russia are coming like literally within the next 2-3 weeks, and Putin just, he will most likely win. He will win, let's be honest. But he wants to have this kind of event just to show the unconditional support of people towards his rule. And if this is not the case, well, the Russian authorities and especially Russian propagandists, they will always find a way to justify future aggressions and potential invasions. Such as just, for example, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, in one of his most recent meetings, let's call it like this, he was basically saying that Moldovan authorities, they're pretty much doing exactly everything the same as Ukrainian authorities, which forced Russians to start liberating and denazifying them. He literally says that Moldovan authorities, they are canceling the Russian language, they're pushing Transnistria, they are pretty much not respecting those people, not giving them any rights or freedoms, nothing like this, which is pretty much exactly what Putin was saying before this so-called special military operation in Ukraine. So literally word by word, it is just now you replace Ukraine with Moldova. So now the main question is this the prelude for the Russian aggression against Moldova? I would say that the answer is pretty obvious for some people, while it's not that obvious for the others. So just guys, once again, please let us all know down below in the comments what do you think. But wait, there is more. There is another aggression which is happening right now as we speak, which potentially might turn into some more escalation from the Russian side in the near future. And the country I'm talking about here is Poland. You already guys probably heard about the events with the Polish farmers, how much they are against, let's call it like this, against the Ukrainian farmers, against the Ukrainian produce, against the Ukrainian grains. They destroy the shipments, they do not let cross the border. You already know these things are happening, so I'm not gonna give you much details on these events, everyone already is talking about this, but I'm gonna dig a little bit deeper and give you some potentially very intriguing facts that you might not have heard before. So, Poland and Ukraine. If you've been following this war since the very beginning, you probably remember that Poland was literally one of the biggest allies of Ukraine at the very beginning. And so now, why suddenly the relations between these countries change so dramatically? Why there is so much hatred, at least, maybe not between the citizens of this country, but at least between farmers of Poland and Ukraine? Could it be that Russians or Putin himself had some influence, had some say in this situation? And just to show you that this is not yet another some crazy conspiracy theory, right here is the picture of one of the most active Polish farmer protester called Piotr Panasiuk. Well, the interesting things, they begin as soon as you start googling this person. The very first thing is that he shows up in the Ukrainian database called Mirotvorets or a Peacemaker, which is basically saying that he is a threat to the Ukrainian sovereignty, and in fact this guy is an agent of the Russian Federation. At the same time, he does have a page in one of Russian social medias called Vkontakte, which is basically the equivalent of Facebook, and personally, honestly, since the beginning of this social media, I have not seen any single person beyond the Soviet, ex-Soviet countries using this social media, Vkontakte. Well, he does it, and then whenever you go and see his societies, or whenever you see his communities that he belongs to, it is all extremely pro-Russian, pro-Putin, supporting the invasion into Ukraine, supporting the Z army, all this kind of stuff all together in one place. And I'm pretty positive that this is only just one example of potentially Russians disguising themselves as Polish. And once again, if you remember, I only mentioned a couple of minutes ago that he's one of the most active protesters. So he's basically pretty much surrounding himself with people. He's poisoning their minds, saying that all those Ukrainians, they are selling their grain so cheap, we cannot make any profit. He's saying this constantly to the people who are listening to him, and obviously slowly but surely Polish farmers, they start to switch sides and join his nonsense. Because obviously at this very moment Russia cannot do anything directly against Poland. That is why they decided to choose the tactics of destabilizing the situation from the inside through people like this. And guys, I received a wonderful feedback from you about my previous video where I was talking about the Z army attacking civilians in Crimea. So guys, if you have not seen it, please go ahead and watch it. It's gonna appear to the left side of me. Don't forget about a ridiculous discounts that we are doing right now over the weekend on our website therussiandude.com, and go ahead and grab some of the merch while you can during this limited time promotion. Please subscribe to my channel to help me stand up from this couch. Thank you so much, patrons, for your support, and see you on Tuesday.